Hey, Dustin Tibbetts here with Passport to Wall Street. Today, we're going to talk about how to identify the end of a trend, right? So we're going to try to use the charts here to illustrate that. And look, there's a number of different ways that you can use to identify the end of an uptrend or a downtrend, but there are a number of different ways that other traders will like to identify that. So that's what I like to focus on, is when do other traders decide that a trend is officially over and ready to bail on their position. So let's dive into it here for a second. If I could just pull this guy back here and pull up the charts, we can actually go right in and check this out. So here is a chart of the UUP, which is the ETF for the US dollar. So we pulled it up here on the charts to show a very strong uptrend. If you look at the green line here, this is illustrating the current trend, or the old trend here. So it was a nice uptrend all the way through the beginning of last year, but recently has broken down. So one area, one place that a lot of traders like to use is when the actual trend line breaks. They'll just draw a simple line, and you can even see here that right when it broke, right in this area, there was more pressure to the downside, as a lot of people decided that's the end of the ride for them. They no longer wanted to participate. And so that's the first area that you can look at, is when the actual trend line breaks the downtrend there. Very, very popular. So along the way, of course, there's many pullbacks, there's many bounces, right? So you kind of have to sit through those and understand you're not going to sell at the tip top there. You're going to be more of a trend rider. So you're going to suffer through some of the pullbacks and a couple weeks there, assuming that the trend is over, and then only to find that you got a little bit more out of it. All right? So any stock or anything that you look at, when it pulls back and breaks through the trend line there, that's where you're actually going to see an increase in volume, as you see down here, as well as more pressure to the downside. That's the first spot. Now, the second part, when a trend, people identify a trend break, is when it breaks through the trend line and then unsuccessfully can't get back above it. Now, these are the traders that are looking for a bigger score, a bigger move, so they're willing to even let it break and try to snap back, assuming that maybe it's some sort of false reading. So in this case, here's the dollar where it broke through. Some traders are going to assume the trend broke there. Others are going to assume, all right, well, maybe it snaps back. Uh-oh, it did not. It's actually reversing. The moment that it starts to sell off underneath the old trend line, that's another area that traders will use to say, okay, trend's officially over. Now, what's sort of interesting is you can use two spots. You can say, all right, I'm in this thing. I'm going to ride this trend as long as possible. However, I'm going to sell part of my position when it breaks, but just in case it's wrong and it snaps back quickly and heads back to highs, I'm going to hang on to half of that position. If half of that position is held and it starts to sell off again, okay, then I'm going to sell the other half of that position, because ultimately you kind of sold in the same spot, right now. So it's basically the same thing there. And so that's one thing that traders like to really use to, break up their trade a little bit. All right, so that's basically what I have for you here today. That is two different spots to identify where a trend breaks. Where do you get out of a trend when it breaks? And maybe that has helped you in some way. So I hope it helped you. Thanks for watching. And of course, we'll talk to you soon.